since 1995. It's been maybe next year. We don't want to do this show, but if you're a Cowboy fan, we need to do this show. This is our therapy. This is us laying on the couch, talking about all the things that hurt us. Hello, everybody. I'm Terry Bennett. That's intern Noe in studio. We've already done the conference final preview show. That one's already up, OutDrankTheCoverage.com. I will be posting all those here in a little while. But now we're just going to talk Cowboys. Intern Noe, how are you doing? And what are you drinking?
Well, I'm doing fine. I'm doing much better now that we've had a few shots in us. I'm still drinking the same thing I drank in the prior show.
Yes.
Wild Turkey 101.
Mm-hmm.
For hydration purposes, I'm having some Powerade, the fruit punch flavor.
Yes. Best one to mix with liquor, by the way.
Yeah. So in this case, I'm having the Wild Turkey 101 neat.
Mm-hmm.
In the other show, I had it mixed with some cherry Coke or cherry Dr. Pepper.
Yes.
Made the same mistake again.
That's okay.
So, yeah. Anyway, what are you drinking, buddy?
I'm drinking Frio, Texas vodka. And speaking of, before we begin things, folks, and I'm also hydrating with Powerade. It's a little thing I created. Oh, no. That's gonna be a mistake here at some point. But it's something I created way back camping. We call them Gator Tails.
Yeah.
I basically chase vodka with Gatorade or Powerade. So let's do a shot. Because this is going to be cheers, buddy. I love you. This is going to be a rough one. Yeah. Not the drink, the show.
Yeah, we're going to be talking some Cowboy 49er playoff football. Back-to-back years. This is the 9th meeting between the Cowboys and 49ers in the playoffs. 1970, 1971, 72, 1992. Oh, before that, 1981.
Yeah.
Then 92, 93, 94, 2021, and then 2022.
You just brought up something I never even thought about. Except for the 81, it's been in threes.
Yes.
And, I mean, when you look at where both teams are going into next year, very reasonable that you're probably going to have to go through San Francisco if you're Dallas. All right, so this is OutDrank the Coverage right here on L4 Media Company, S2S Sport, but more importantly, OutDrankTheCoverage.com. We talk Dallas Cowboys and the NFL here, brought to you by Frisco Bar and Grill. We'll talk a little bit more about them here in a little bit. Also, Grandeur Pest Solutions and Mattress Depot. But before we do all that, and before we get into the complete show, I just want to know when the clock hit zero, what were your first initial thought? Now I know because we talked, but just tell the audience, what was your initial thought?
A wasted opportunity. I felt Dallas outplayed the 49ers in this game, and there should not have been a reason why the Cowboys are not in the NFC title game right now. But that was my initial gut reactions, and it was just frustrating, especially that last play when they had that little trick play where Zeke was snapping the ball.
So that play bothered you? Because I guess
it was in and of itself, it didn't bother me, but just the way the whole game went. And then that was the last play I saw for the season for my favorite team.
Yeah.
It just kind of,
the frustrating part is I see what they were doing there. The whole idea is Zeke snaps the ball. He's an ineligible receiver.
Yeah.
But where they threw it into the slot is they were hoping that Turbin would then pitch it immediately to Zeke. And then you actually, I'm not saying the play would have worked, but they were trying to, it was a good idea.
Yeah.
It's just San Francisco, it's the last second they just go, hey, let's just get in the quarterback's face.
Yeah.
And so they knocked Zeke down, and that immediately ended the play. The play itself didn't bother me. I think a lot of people, not you, I think a lot of people are overrating that. Like, this is why Kellen Moore needs to be. And speaking of, by the way, as we were recording the first episode, it's basically been announced that Kellen Moore will be back. We'll talk about that.
Yeah, you already know my thoughts on that.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that. And I think for this episode, we're mainly going to talk about Cowboys going forward.
Okay.
Now, the only way we can do that is to talk about the San Francisco game.
Yeah.
But we're going to talk about them going forward. And to be honest with you, this is a discussion we'll be having multiple times in the offseason, because that's what happens in the offseason. We've got to see the moves they make now going forward so that we can adjust what we think. But first and foremost, we want to thank our title sponsor, Frisco Bar and Grill. They're located online at thefriscobar.com, but more importantly, 6750 Gaylord Parkway, Suite 120. They're open 11 a.m. to midnight, Monday, Tuesday, 11 a.m. to 2 a.m. Wednesday through Saturday, and then back to midnight on Sunday. You and I have been there multiple times. It's great to watch football. It's a San Francisco 49er football watching club. Also the Oklahoma Sooners. Funny, two of the rivals of the teams that we watch. But, when we were there for that Monday night, Niners versus Cardinals, we had a blast. It was a fun time. The atmosphere was great. And I'm assuming the Oklahoma, maybe not this past year with the season that they had, but that's all fun. But also it's a great place just to go out and have a good time, do some karaoke. If you want to have some great food, I love their appetizers. We've talked about this before. I'm a big appetizer fan when it comes to bars, kind of like what we do today. We want to graze as I drink.
Yeah.
So check out Frisco Bar. Also, Grandeur Pest Solutions. You can find them online at grandeur4sure.com. Give them a call, 469-809-1842. Corey and the crew there, they will take care of you. The greatest thing is their quality, but also they're quick. You don't have to wait 6-7 months. If you call them or if you go online and you ask for a quote, they're going to reach out to you ASAP and tell them you heard about them here on the show. Also, Mattress Depot, 11 locations, all the way from Wichita Falls up to Rockwall to Irving to Gainesville, all over the DFW Mattress Place. You can find them online, though, on Facebook. Just type in Mattress Depot, and you'll have Mattress Depot Rockwall, whichever one fits you're closest to, that's where you want to go. You can also give them a call, 469-264-7296. All right, so let's do it. I don't even know where to start. Do you have an idea where you want to start? It's like so many things at once, and we have time, but then we also don't want to spend 2 hours talking about the same thing, which you and I could, because we're going to continue this conversation off the air. And I asked you your initial thoughts. So I guess I'll ask you this. What are your initial thoughts? Now that you know Kellen Moore's back, Dan Quinn is back, but they got rid of a ton of assistant coaches.
Okay.
What does that tell you?
Scapegoats.
You think so?
Yeah. To me, the main problem is Kellen Moore and his offensive schemes. I really thought Dan Quinn did a great job with the defense against 49ers. I really felt that the defense kind of hung in there and made the game competitive.
Yep.
On the other opposite end, I really think that the Cowboys offense didn't do the best of jobs and trying to score points. Now, granted, San Francisco during the regular season, number 1 ranked defense.
Yep.
Be as it may, as much as I praise the 49ers, they have Bosa, they have Fred Warner.
Dude, he had a game.
Yeah.
Warner had a hell of a
He's
game.
an unnaturally gifted linebacker who has the athletic ability of a secondary player, but as in a linebacker position, he has the build for a linebacker.
Yeah, he really does.
He's just supremely fast and smart. And I mean, a lot of opposing quarterbacks hate to play the 49ers because of him. I haven't said that, like Bosa, Warner, the safety for them that I keep referencing, Talanoa Hufanga, Tayshaun Gibson, Travarius Ward, one of the best cover corners in all of football. Jimmy Ward, we'll talk about later with the tackle on Tony Pollard. They're just so talented across the board on defense. I knew they're going to give the offense fits, but to me, just gut reaction, just watching that game, I felt Dallas was just the better team. And I think this was Brock Purdy's first real competition against a really good defense.
Yeah, and he struggled.
But, give him credit. He still gives me some 2016 Dak vibes where he was making some plays that a typical rookie, especially someone that was Mr. Irrelevant for 2022, would not make. So I'll give him credit. He did make some plays that, you typically wouldn't see from that draft pick. But also, like with the 49ers and Shanahan, what he did so well was get more diversity on the offense. He got Elijah Mitchell, who was kind of a breakout star this year, and then they traded for Christian McCaffrey. So they got, 2 stud running backs. And on the receiving end, they got Deebo Samuel, they got Brandon Ayuk, and then if they ever need him, Jawan Jennings. So they have a lot of real good talent, and it's kind of hard to double team anyone on the 49ers. But the Cowboys defense did so well against them, in my opinion, especially like goal line situations. Like Hankins had a pretty good game. He had a couple tackles.
Micah Parsons.
That
first play of the game.
Yeah.
I mean, that's when you realize, honestly, you and I had talked about it last week, and you and I have talked about it all year. Everybody talks about the run defense of the Cowboys, and everybody says, well, in the draft, we need to get this. And I keep trying to tell people a lot of it's scheme.
Yeah.
Like they're trying to get to the pass, to the quarterback, because they're going to bet that most teams aren't going to run on them consistently,
and,
even if they're successful.
Correct. In this day and age, that's just what
yes.
Offenses do. They're more pass heavy.
Exactly.
So if you have a defense that can actually pressure rate just like what the Eagles do, which the Cowboys are, Eagles and Cowboys have about the same amount of pressure rate.
Yes.
You're more likely than not to win the game.
Yeah. But I saw that first play, and Micah Parsons crashes in for a tackle for loss, and I thought, oh, we're good. We're good.
He set the tone.
I really thought, like, man, because I had said all week, and I had said on the show last week that I thought where Dallas could hurt San Francisco offensively, and it's the same place where I think Philadelphia can, if you block up. San Francisco gives up big plays. They've given them up all year. And they gave up big plays in this game.
Yeah.
Dak even hit a couple of them. A couple of them he didn't.
Yeah.
But, man, that first tackle for loss, I thought, wow, this is it.
Yeah, that's a great point. For as good of a defense as 49ers are, they are susceptible to that big play. The one I always reference ever since it happened was the one against Arizona.
Yes.
AJ Green.
Yep.
Long touchdown. So they're susceptible to the big play. Now, there's a reason why teams don't do it often against the 49ers.
No, exactly, because of pass rush.
Yeah. I was going to say my favorite play of the game was what you had referenced earlier today to me. And I remember it was the Parsons versus McGlinchey.
Yes, the throw.
Yeah, because that reminded me of Reggie White doing it. That was his patented move where he'd take his right arm and then Reggie White was 300 pounds. And he was going against another 300-pound tackle, and he would just take his arm and just shove him.
He did that to Larry Allen.
And that is not a disrespect to Larry Allen.
No. But you know the story, the second part of that story, right?
What's the second part of the story?
Larry Allen, if you don't remember, if you're not old enough, but Larry Allen actually, his rookie year had to play tackle.
That's the 94 season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so Reggie does that. And so they line up for the next play, and Larry Allen looked at him and said, never again. Just had to throw that in because Larry Allen's one of the few players that could say that to Reggie White and get away with it.
With those two players, they're about equal weight.
Yes.
Now, it's Micah Parsons about 250.
Yep.
McGlinchey's about 300.
And a great player.
Yeah. One of the better right tackles in football.
Best face mask going because he still does the old school.
Oh, yeah. One of the best face masks going. I know.
I love the helmets.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that play happens, the first play happens, and I think we're good. And the defense was. Yeah. Now, in saying that, let's be fair. In the second half, when Dallas needed to get off the field, that's when you start. And we talked about that. Could Dallas, if it's a close, low-scoring game, could Dallas stop the run when it needed to?
Okay, this is a copy and paste of what you used to say 4 years ago about the Cowboys defense.
Yeah, it really is.
But that was a good defense in 2018. It's just their offense back then would leave them on the field too long.
Yeah.
And they just got tired. Yeah. To me, this is exactly what happened in the second half against the 49ers. They just got tired.
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't think it's a negative on defense, but again, it's one of those, if you're going to be, and Dan Quinn said it after the game, if you're going to be a top-tier defense, nothing else should matter. You get out and you stop them.
Dude, 6 days rest, traveling from Tampa to Dallas to San Francisco or Santa Clara. The 49ers had 8 days rest, didn't have to travel anywhere.
Yep.
The fact that they only gave up 19 points and 6 of them were off turnovers.
6 of them were definitely off turnovers. And give them credit for those turnovers not turning into touchdowns.
Agreed.
That's something that used to happen.
Agreed. So to me, the defense was not the problem in this game. I thought they outperformed.
Now, in saying that, Trayvon Diggs, couple plays.
That's the thing you have to accept with him because he is going to go for the big play.
But but I mean, again, we go back to the Kittle play at the midfield.
Well, it was an illegal play.
Yeah, it was an illegal play. But even then, I don't. A lot of people are, dude. That's a split-second decision. Go for the ball. Go for the hit.
Yeah,
he went for the hit and he whiffed. But the same two guys, Kittle and Diggs, at the goal line.
Yeah,
and I know the ball was tipped, but again, you go back to, as Butch Davis always said, great players make great plays.
You're not saying it right.
Okay. Great players make great plays.
Yeah.
We're going to have to pull that in and have that as one of our sound drops. But he's right. Yeah, great players go, okay, that's a tip ball. I'm still going to make the catch.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying Diggs isn't a great player, and I'm not knocking Diggs, but I am saying for all the talk of the offense, there were a couple times where the defense didn't make the plays that might have changed things. There's still a little bit of not blame, but hey, you got to make that play.
Hey, 100% get it. I just would say, going back to what I said before, I just really feel that the Cowboys defense did exactly what they should have done.
I agree with that.
And I really think they exceeded expectations.
I agree with that.
If you had asked me, so now we know what the score was, but still, like, if you had told me that the 49ers were only going to score 19 points. Dallas wins.
All day, every day.
How could they not?
Yep.
That was a fantastic performance. They barely allowed 300 yards. They got to Purdy. He made a couple of bad throws that did not end up being interceptions, but they probably should have been.
They got to Christian McCaffrey. McCaffrey was stymied all game long.
Yeah, I mean, Kittle had a great game, but most of it came from that one great catch that should not have been a catch because of the eligible receiver.
So let's go ahead. So technically, I think that's illegal, but it's also something like, I don't know if that's, I don't know. I'm conflicted. Like, do you want that to be the reason you lose? No, but do you also want that? I don't know. That
wasn't the reason the Cowboys lost.
No. All right. So first off, Dan Quinn's back. Kellen Moore's back. So our coordinators are back.
Yeah.
Now, I haven't read if maybe McCarthy's taking over more on the play call.
That would be worse.
Would it?
Yeah.
I mean, why?
I just get 2017, 2018 Packer vibes.
Okay, so why does he? Okay, so let's go ahead and have this discussion now, because you and I have talked about this off the record, off the record. But so, what is so different that why do Cowboy fans want Sean Payton over Mike McCarthy when they've literally done the same thing their whole career? Like, their records are almost exactly the same.
People don't see that. People see Mike McCarthy for his 2017, 2018 reign with the Packers.
Mm-hmm.
People see Peyton for the championship he got in New Orleans, which people feel that, when I say people, I mean like majority of football fans, they feel like it's almost impossible to get a championship in New Orleans. And then see the lull he had in 2014, 15, 16, but then revamp that team into the monster they were from 2017 to 2020, where they were basically one of the top 3 teams in football every one of those years. In 2018, they should have won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, they should have. And they should.
That was not their fault. I will not blame them for that.
No, 100%. I do get that. But I just think that.
But they had bad losses. And the next year, they lost the Vikings at home.
And nobody talks about that. That is a collapse of epic proportions.
The Vikings came in. I mean, the Vikings exceeded expectations that year by beating a great Saint team at on the road in the wild card round. Then they got destroyed by the 49ers the next week.
Yep.
The following year, the Saints won. I think they beat the Bears in the wild card round, and then they lost to the Buccaneers, who ended up winning the Super Bowl. But that was only because they turned the ball over like 4 times in that game, and they had They had destroyed the Buccaneers during the regular season.
Yeah, they owned them both games.
Yeah. So 2020, 2021, they had beaten the Buccaneers 4 times, but they couldn't beat them in the playoffs that one time. So.
But how many Super Bowls did they get in that?
0.
I mean, for all the talk about Peyton, Mike McCarthy has went to a Super Bowl more recent, even though that's been 12 years.
Hey, and I remember the 2018 matchup between the Saints and the Cowboys. I had told you specifically, if they just double team Michael Thomas and Alvin Kamara, they'll win.
And that's exactly what
they did. And they won an ugly game on Thursday Night Football post Thanksgiving.
Yep. That felt like that was again, we go back to, and this is why I said last week when I pointed out that Joe Buck said the Cowboys have broken through, and I kept saying, no, they haven't. They don't break through till you win the division, a divisional round. All right. So, I mean, let's just jump right into it. Dak Prescott.
Yeah.
Was this year what we're going to expect going forward, or was this just an odd year? Because for all the talks about the interceptions, and you and I were kind of watching some other stuff. We were watching Nate Tice on The Athletic, and I thought he brought up a good point. And I think I said this last week. The interception thing was not great, but it also was kind of overstated. Like, there wasn't a lot. Like, you could say, well, the Washington game, the interceptions mattered. Yeah, but I mean, it was the end of the game. It was the end of the season. Everything had been decided. For all the talk about Dak and his interceptions, none of them were like game breaking. Oh my God, that's changed the season. I think the interception thing gets a little overrated. I think interceptions are just, I think every quarterback in their career is going to have a stretch and multiple stretches for some quarterbacks where they just turn the ball over. The question is, though, is that a 1-year thing, or is this about to be something we're going to see going forward?
Mahomes had that for a bit last season.
Yes, he did.
So this could be just a small blip, a little small stretch. I don't think.
And he still threw 23 touchdowns in only 12 games, and he still finished. And I have a lot of issues with the QBR because I think it's weighted weird, but he still finished with a top 6 QBR in the games that he played.
Yeah.
He still finished 8-4. He's still in the last 2 years 19-9 as a starter. And you know, we always talk about, well, stats don't mean anything, but wins and losses are supposed to mean something.
Yeah.
19-9. That hasn't been done. Tony Romo never did that. It hasn't been done since Aikman.
What do you mean? Like
19-9, back-to-back 12-win seasons, all that.
Hmm.
Romo never did. As much as
Well, Romo, yeah. I mean,
but I'm just saying. So I don't know, man. I'm like you. I'm confused and I'm concerned. And let's go ahead and Kellen Moore.
The fact that Kellen Moore is back at the OC, I just feel that it's gonna be the same thing in 2023. I'm just gonna look to 2024 if that's the case. I just don't see him. My biggest issue with him is I say screw the stats when you consider him.
I agree.
I feel that I'm only concerned about him in big games. Now, he did well against the Eagles, but people would say, oh, well, the Eagles didn't have Jalen Hurts, so it was a different flow to the game. It was just a different feel. But I say, you know what, whatever.
Well, I'm going to go back to what you said, actually. I will give you credit.
Oh, this is a first.
Yeah, I know.
This is OutDrank the Coverage first.
Let's take a drink.
Yep.
Take a drink. I'm going to give Noe credit. Hang on.
And Terry's chasing with some Powerade.
You called it. You said it after Jacksonville.
Okay.
They've got to start winning those games.
Yeah.
You've got to, for all the talk. And Dallas had a great season.
Yeah.
But you've got to have better than everybody else, because if Dallas has the Eagles pass,
yeah,
Dallas is playing this week. Period. End of discussion.
Well, I mean, yeah, Eagles won by 2 games in the division.
Mm-hmm.
If Dallas beat Green Bay in that game where they were up by 2 touchdowns, and they have never lost a game when they were up 2 touchdowns going into the fourth quarter until that game,
and then did it again against Jacksonville,
it didn't even matter if they had just beaten
one of those. Yeah,
if they had cared to beat Washington, to me, they played the same vanilla offense that the Eagles played against the Giants. The only difference is the Eagles were at home and they won by 6 points, and the Dallas was on the road, and they basically just gave up.
Well, and I think you can make the case that top to bottom, Washington might be a better team than the Giants. It's
just so funny. 2 years ago, the NFC least was the worst division in football. No one had a winning record. This year, everybody had a 500 or better record.
Yep.
So it's just I love football for that. I love the NFL for that.
But you hate it too.
I also hate it too. That's what I was gonna. You're reading my mind,
because I'm feeling the same thing. I think all of us are as Cowboy fans, because you're right. You throw out the stats when you talk about Kellen Moore, but you've got to get to the playoff game, and so
his offense is good enough to get to the playoffs.
Hang on. You're right, but we talk about the 2 games that might have changed it: Green Bay and Jacksonville.
Yeah.
And in both of those, the defense gives up double-digit lead. And that's where, when I tell people, I think Cowboy fans, and it's weird, I think Cowboy fans that are younger than the Super Bowls feel this way, like, well, why aren't we there? Because it takes extraordinary things to happen. Everything has to connect.
Yeah,
it's complementary football. That's the word. Yeah. When your offense and your defense work together, doesn't mean your defense is great or your offense is great, but they work together. And I think that's the disconnect. You have Jacksonville and Green Bay, where if the defense just makes 1 or 2 plays.
Yeah.
But then you can also point to Jacksonville. Hey, after the fumble, all Dallas had to do was run the clock out. And this is where we go back to how good is the Dallas offense? Because you look at the rush stats and they're top 10. They're top 10 in attempts. They're top 10 in yards. But you look at their yards per carry and they're very low. And so then we go back to how good is really that offensive line. And this is why we go back. I keep saying go back. But now all the coaches outside of the 2 coordinators have basically been fired. And Al Harris. And by the way, Al Harris, if he doesn't get a defensive coordinator job next year, not this year, I think he needs to prove himself one more year. Yeah. But what he's done with the secondary, absolutely amazing.
Especially after Anthony Brown
Bland
had the torn Achilles in week 13.
Yeah, DeRon Bland could have literally been, and I think he was kind of screwed out of not at least being in the rookie of the year. He had 5 interceptions, which
he kind of came on late. So
but so did Brock Purdy, and Brock Purdy was a favorite for the rookie of the year.
He won't get it, but
quarterback.
I get it. Yeah,
you know how that works.
Quarterback's always going to get it.
Yes.
So yeah, bro.
But in saying all that, it's going to be Kellen Moore, and I just feel like.
I almost feel like you should just skip 2023 if that's going to be the case. It's just going to be more of the same. I have no expectations if Kellen Moore is going to be the offensive coordinator for the Cowboys in 2023. Why? He's so inconsistent.
But he's going to win. But is he?
He'll get double-digit wins. The Cowboys will be in the playoffs.
Which would be the first time in
3 years. No, yeah. Who cares? I want a Super Bowl.
Yeah, but I've always told you from the moment we became friends, I've always told you that for me, you've got to be consistent. You've got to earn it. And I think what happened in the 90s kind of messed with Cowboy fans because they skipped like 3 spots.
Which was me growing up.
Yes, exactly.
So I'm gonna have that.
So because you admit you didn't start watching football till after they had already started to build. So in 91, after they beat the Bears and then lose to the Lions, and they go into the 92 season, as a Cowboy fan, you're thinking, hey, all right, let's just get to the title game this year. And they did. And you're thinking, I can remember that whole week just thinking, hey, San Francisco's going to win. This is awesome. We're back. And then Dallas won. And it accelerated everything.
Yep.
And so I think now, if you ever notice that since then, if we have a decent quarterback, a decent running back, and it's the triplets. It's the triplets again.
Oh, yeah.
We always try to emulate what they did in the 90s. And
even in the mid-2000s, it was Bledsoe, Julius Jones, and Terry Glenn.
Antonio Bryant, Quincy Carter, and Richie Anderson.
Richie in that fullback.
You remember him? He went wherever Parcells went, and he would throw like 2 touchdown passes a year.
He would get like 50 catches.
Yes, yeah. I mean, he was one of the first, like, just out of the backfield fullback.
Yeah.
But I think that's part of the problem is that we expect as Cowboy fans. First off, Cowboy fans expecting anything just blows my mind. It's been 25 years, folks. Don't expect crap. I mean, just take what you get because we're no different than any other franchise at this point. Yeah. We are just a regular franchise trying to figure it out. And saying all that, again, I keep saying that.
Mm-hmm.
How much, like, going forward, what is your trust factor in Dak? Like, where are you with Dak?
Oh, I trust him 100%.
You still think he can win a Super Bowl?
Yeah, I mean, if Trent Dilfer can get to a Super Bowl, if Jimmy Garoppolo can get to a Super Bowl and lead by double digits into the fourth quarter, yeah, I think Dak Prescott can get to a Super Bowl easily.
First off, thank you. You segued without even trying.
Amen, brother.
All right, so let's look at the quarterbacks that have won Super Bowls since 2000. All right?
Okay.
And because I think 2000 is when things changed.
I could tell you every starting quarterback from that point
I know you
forward.
can. That's why I'm saying it. So, and I don't even worry about it. So, I will say this. It's different. In the 80s, the 70s, and 80s, you had this idea of a Super Bowl winning quarterback, and you either were or you weren't. Well, 2000 changed that because Trent Dilfer won the Super Bowl. And then Tom Brady. And the first Tom Brady Super Bowl is a random guy. What he became doesn't matter. Then Brad Johnson won your Super Bowl.
Yep.
So that right there showed you in 3 years, you didn't have to be a quote unquote Super Bowl quarterback.
Precisely.
Then you've got what I think is the biggest one, the Eli Manning.
I knew you were going to say that. Yeah.
He has basically every playoff win in 2 seasons.
Yeah.
The 2 years that they won the playoffs, or Super Bowl.
2007 and 2011 seasons.
They did not win another playoff game under him in any other year.
Oh, so, that part I didn't know.
Yes, okay. Yes.
He was, but now I'm thinking about,
He was 0-4 except for those 2.
Yeah.
So and we're talking about people trying to make a case that Eli Manning's a Hall of Fame quarterback. This is a guy that finished with the same 500 exactly, and literally almost the exact same pass touchdowns as interceptions. And yet you're going to say he's a Super Bowl or he's a Hall of Famer because he won 2 Super Bowls?
That Giants front 4 was a Hall of Fame collaboration. Yes. But yeah, Eli will be a Hall of Famer. He will get enshrined in Canton.
Okay,
at some point. I don't know if it's first ballot, but he will definitely get it.
I don't think he gets first. If DeMarcus Ware doesn't get first ballot, nobody.
That was the biggest. That is the biggest first ballot snub in history.
Yeah, I don't get that one. Yeah. But anyway, all right. So let's look at the next ones.
Okay.
All right. So Eli Manning wins. Okay, Peyton wins in 2006. That was a coronation. It finally happened.
It wasn't even their best year, but yeah,
it wasn't by far. That's one of the worst Super Bowls. Just
it was the weather hurt.
Prince was awesome. Prince was awesome, and it was raining, so it's perfect.
Yeah.
Hey, purple rain. But all right, so after that was Ben Roethlisberger.
08 was 05 was not a good year for the Steelers, but 08 was a better year for Roethlisberger.
Yeah, no, he deserved it. 2 Super Bowls.
He became a star.
Yes, he did. All right, but here we go. You ready for this?
All right.
And let me finish all this. So before the next Tom Brady, we have Aaron Rodgers, Eli again, Joe Flacco, Russell Wilson, and then Tom Brady.
All
right. So we all consider Aaron Rodgers amazing because he's won 1,000 MVPs.
Yeah.
But how many Super Bowls has he won?
1.
We all consider Drew Brees amazing, and he is. He won MVPs, but how many Super Bowls have he won?
1.
Russell Wilson. 1. Nick Foles next. You see my point though?
Yeah.
So this idea that there's a quarterback style, whatever that's just not true. It's about your team. It's always been about your team. Roger Staubach was a better quarterback than Terry Bradshaw. Period.
Easily.
End of discussion. Steve Young was a better quarterback than Troy Aikman.
I don't know if I agree with that one.
Steve Young was a better pure quarterback.
That is not an insult to either of those quarterbacks.
No.
Those are both Hall of Fame quarterbacks.
Exactly. Deservedly so.
Steve Young, so a lot of people that didn't watch football in the 80s don't realize Steve Young really wasn't a starting quarterback consistently until I think it was 31.
Yeah.
So he became a Hall of Famer just based off a short period of time. But that was 7-8 year period with the 49ers as a starting quarterback were so good, he had to go in first ballot. That's how good he was in that short period of time. But, I mean, he started at Tampa, USFL before that. Yeah, he struggled. I mean, USFL, he was great, but
Tampa was terrible.
And then he went to the 49ers in his mid-20s as a backup to Montana. He had some spot starts. He did great. But a lot of people attributed that to talent around.
He breaks it. Sorry, the Minnesota run.
One of the greatest runs of all time by a quarterback.
Yeah.
I think they lost that game too.
Yeah, they did. Same thing with, by the way, Tony Dorsett running the 99 yards against Minnesota. They actually lost
Monday night game against the Vikings. Dallas lost that game.
That was a weird year where they played them in the same calendar year like 3 times because of how the strike had went.
Much like the Bengals and Chiefs in 2022.
Good one there. All right, so since 2000, give me your top 5 quarterbacks. Just off the top of your head, top 5 quarterbacks.
Peyton Manning.
All right.
Drew Brees. Tom Brady. The Aaron Rodgers. Patrick Mahomes.
All right. So out of all those, now Mahomes, of course, the story is.
I'm really going to put Mahomes in there because if you say 2000s, like he's only been in the league for 6 years.
Yeah, but he's transcending the league.
Okay. So I'm going to add him.
So how many of those Super Bowls have they all won? Peyton Manning has 2. Tom Brady has 2.
And I wouldn't even give Peyton Manning's a hard one because the second Super Bowl was his last
terrible.
season. Brock Osweiler was almost should be attributed for that Super Bowl more than Peyton Manning.
Hell, Cam Newton looking at the fumble might be the biggest play of the game.
I was such a big fan of that Carolina team.
I was too. I really,
15-1.
I was so torn because DeMarcus Ware, my favorite Cowboy of all time, was on the Broncos, but I thought Cam Newton was the neutralizer in that.
Topic for the offseason.
Yes.
Our favorite Cowboys and why.
Yeah. And speaking of our off-season shows, we're going to be the new network allows us to just do a complete. We're going to have sports movies. That's why our new logo, by the way, if you see it, which we want to thank Wes for doing that. He works for the network, and he's our graphic designer, and he did a wonderful job. I'm trying to, for some reason, I can't move anything. I think everything's frozen. But yeah, here's our new logo. It's awesome, and we do appreciate that. But yeah, my point is though. Since 2000, we'll go 2006 when Peyton won because he wins too.
No.
Everybody except for him and Tom Brady are one-offs. So this idea that there's a quarterback style or you have the certain whatever we used to think, it's just not true. Matthew Stafford it literally spent his whole career being, people would debate,
a great player on a bad team.
Or was he just part of the reason why they were bad? He was good until it mattered, blah, blah, blah. Nick Foles, Joe Flacco.
Yeah.
Joe Flacco. And the great thing is, or the funny thing is Joe Flacco, out of all the talks, had one of the best postseasons ever.
Yep.
But he only won it one. And then after that, he became average again.
Well, that was his thing. He was an average regular season quarterback, but elite postseason quarterback.
In that 1 year.
Yeah.
In that 1 year.
I mean, some people go back to everything up to the 2012 season, 08 as a rookie. Like, Brock Purdy, we'll talk about him, but Brock Purdy is the fifth rookie quarterback to get to the NFC title game.
And the one that nobody remembers that actually might have got screwed by the way the game was called back then? Sean King.
Oh, yeah.
The Bird Emanuel touchdown.
Because of that one play by Bird Emanuel, now we have instant replay.
Okay, so it's OutDrank the Coverage, so this is what we do. I want to say this. I have an issue with how catches are called now. I think if the ball doesn't touch the ground, it should be a catch.
Correct.
If you fall out of bounds and you bobble it, but it lands on your chest, that should be a catch.
I've always thought that too.
I don't understand
why.
It
takes away from the feel of the game.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
John Madden said it best. If it looks like a catch, it is a catch.
Rip and agreed.
Yeah. Anyway, so my point is, this whole idea that Dak Prescott can or cannot win a Super Bowl, that's not a thing.
Yeah.
He is talented enough. Now, that doesn't mean he doesn't have things he needs to work on, but he is talented enough, and I think he has shown enough that you build the team around him, you can win a Super Bowl. Now, my question to you is, why did Dallas feel that they went from 2020? You give me 2020's offense before he got hurt.
Oh, yeah.
2020's offense with this defense, and Dallas might have gone undefeated this year. Why does Dallas, and it's not salary cap.
Yeah.
This goes back to the front office. Why does Dallas, they can never seem to stay with one philosophy? Now, the one thing they are doing now is they're drafting more, as far as they're not trying to sign free agents. Of course, now everybody's mad about that.
Yeah.
It's funny. 10 years ago, everybody was pissed that Dallas didn't draft.
Yeah.
That's the one thing Dallas has done well is draft. But why did they have to feel they had to give up offense to get defense? That didn't make sense with me.
They just were trying to address what they were lacking. They wanted some firepower.
Yeah.
That's really all I can say about that. I just feel that it's the same issue they're having now. They just have a depth issue. But
it's better this year than I think it has been. That's why
it has been. I mean, hell, Cooper Rush. I mean, hey, if Cooper Rush wasn't available, this could have been a 2015 season. Easy.
Or 2020, yeah.
Or 2020 season, easy.
Yeah.
But because we had a capable backup quarterback and a capable defensive coordinator that was good at scheming and in this case, making the team have to rely on the defense to make plays, they were able to go 4-1 with Cooper Rush as a starter. He's a pretty solid quarterback. He's not going to be a quarterback that, if you don't have the parts around you, you're going to win. But if you have like with the 49ers, if you have a capable team all around you, you can have a Cooper Rush type player at quarterback and win.
Oh, that's a good question. Who would you take right now, Cooper Rush or Brock Purdy?
They're the same player.
Thank you.
Yeah, I could say either player.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I would pick Cooper Rush now only because he's seasoned.
That's could you say Brock is at this point 5 games?
No, he's still
games?
A rookie.
Yeah.
If you're asking me long term, I'd take Purdy, but as of right now, I would take Cooper Rush because I would have more faith in a veteran that plays about the same because he's experienced a lot. So,
but I think Brock has actually now technically started more games than Cooper.
Because now he's 7-0 as a starter. He had 5 regular season starts and then the 2 postseason starts.
Cooper.
Oh yeah, I really did want to talk about this one stat.
Yeah, go ahead.
So there's never been a rookie quarterback that's taken a team to a Super Bowl.
Yeah,
that is the biggest obstacle that the 49ers are going to have to overcome. So they're going to have to. They would make history if they would make the Super Bowl this season, because he would be technically the first rookie quarterback to start a Super Bowl. The other ones that had opportunities, 99 Sean King. He got screwed over by the Bert Emanuel non-catch, which was a catch, and that eventually created the instant replay rule.
Well, it brought it back. There had been instant
brought
replay
it back.
Before,
yeah. Correct. And then 2004 was Ben Roethlisberger.
Yep.
The 15-1 Steelers. They were just a great running team at that point.
Yep.
And the Patriots exposed them.
Yep.
To get their 3rd Super Bowl in 4 years. And then in 2008, Joe Flacco.
Yep.
2 great defensive playoff wins by the Ravens. And they just couldn't do it against the Steelers, who ended up winning the Super Bowl in Mike Tomlin's 2nd year. And then in 2009, Mark Sanchez took the 9-7 Jets with one of the best defenses ever. And they went. They won their opening round against the Bengals. I think Carson Palmer got hurt in that game.
Yeah, that's the tear his knee up like 3rd snap of the game.
And then the divisional round against the Chargers. The Chargers were 13-3 that year with Phillip Rivers, and I think Norv Turner was the coach.
Yep.
And the Jets just figured it out and were able to sneak out with the win. A lot of people kind of favored them against the Colts because the Colts, toward the end of 2009, they were not as dominant as they were toward the beginning of the season. But Jets went up 17-6, and the Colts just ended that, and they went to the Super Bowl. But yeah, so since then, there hasn't been another rookie quarterback that's gone this far into the playoffs.
And it's interesting because when you look at each one of those, they're all different. Sean King was a
big time,
game manager. Big Ben was a Hall of Famer, but that rookie year he was a game manager. Joe Flacco was, I think, like you said, Joe Flacco was really weird. He was either really good or really bad in the playoffs. There was no in between. Mark Sanchez, look, great story, but that was all
game manager would be giving him credit.
Yeah. And so of all those, Big Ben's the only one that's going to be in the Hall of Fame, and it's not for that year.
Correct.
Every other one either just was a journeyman or, I guess Joe Flacco. I don't think he's a Hall of Famer, but I think he gets into. I think he'll be in the discussion with the Veterans Committee.
I think he got that big contract and just was done. I really don't think he tried after they got in that big contract.
Well,
just based off of how that team performed after the 2012 season, you could see that he was not the same quarterback.
All right, so you bring me to the next one.
All right.
Can teams win with a big contract quarterback? Because if you look at it right now, only Mahomes and his, I don't think he's even really truly kicked in. I think in 2 years.
Yeah.
So Tom Brady was always able to take less money because of his situation. He was married to a supermodel, and she made $500 million a year. And that 100% is one of the reasons why Tom Brady didn't feel the need to have to go for the top money.
Yeah.
Every other team, I mean, you look at the quarterbacks now. Mahomes is a big contract, but it's still, I don't think it's hit yet. Burrows is on a rookie deal.
Yeah.
Jalen Hurts is on a rookie deal.
Yep.
Brock Purdy's on a rookie deal.
Mm-hmm.
So again, the question is, if you haven't won when your quarterback gets to year 5, is it better to just start over?
Oh,
it sucks because you feel like we all think that, hey, in a quarterback in year 5, if he's really good, that means year 6, 7, and 8, he'll even be better.
Are you okay with giving them a quarter of your yearly cap?
I think
to me, 2022, you look at these Final Four teams, a lot of them are built off of depth, especially the 49ers. Now, the Bengals maybe more so on defense and the offensive line. Eagles, all around. Everybody's getting paid, but not like max.
No, and Jalen Hurts hasn't hit the big
like
ones.
Darius Slay is not getting paid like much as he should.
I think he's getting like $8 million a year or something.
Possibly. Yeah. And CJ Gardner-Johnson had a all-pro year and then he got hurt. Without him, they still had an elite secondary. So it's really hard to build a Super Bowl winning team if you're giving probably half your cap to one player. So me personally, if I was building a team, I would not have a Mahomes type player because it would make me feel obligated to pay them market value. Market value for someone like Mahomes is probably over a quarter of your yearly cap.
I'll pull that one up here in a minute, but you brought up the name. And again, we're new mic, so if I'm a little off, I'm sorry.
You sound great to me.
Oh, thank you, buddy. Darius Slay this year, his cap hit, $9 million.
$5 million?
$9. Not bad. You know what his cap is? Hit his next.
Guess.
I said 8. Pull that out my butt.
Yeah.
You know what his cap hit is next year? 26 million.
He will not be
an Eagle unless he restructures.
Well, how old is he too? Is he like in his early 30s?
Yeah, he's like 31.
So a secondary player in his early 30s, he's definitely going to be he'll definitely be cut or he's going to restructure. Like, so, Zeke, kudos to him. He's going to turn 28 in 2023. He's willing to take a pay cut.
Yes.
Which, hey, after the suspension he had in 2017, I saw a different Zeke. And he's been that way ever since. And I'm very impressed with him. I wish he was more – I wish he was more used with the Cowboys. But with the emergence of Tony Pollard, I kind of like him in a short yardage situation. But he's getting paid way too much to just be a short yardage running back.
Well, I've kind of told you how I felt about it, and the draft has to fall a certain way.
Yeah.
And again, speaking of, we talk about how the Cowboys draft and stuff, but literally the last 2 years, players fell to them that ended up working, and you want to give the Cowboys credit, but it's like, hey, it happened to fall perfectly for you.
Yeah.
By the way, Patrick Mahomes this year is a $35 million hit, but he restructured. But here's the thing. The Chiefs literally have a bevy of nobody outside of Kelsey.
Yeah.
That's what you'd call guys everybody else needs, and yet it works.
Well, I mean, we can go into the Chiefs if you want, but with them, Travis Kelce is their best offensive talent outside of Mahomes, and he's on the wrong side of 30.
Yeah, but my point is, I think we're seeing this year that Andy Reid's system, the thing that we talk about Kellen Moore doesn't do, Andy Reid takes spare parts and knows where to fit them.
Yeah.
And I guess that's the thing that I don't see that Dallas has done with Kellen Moore, with Scott Linehan, with Jason Garrett. My whole discussion with you has always been is that they're fine if their players are better than the opponent's players. They're going to win 9 times out of 10. The issue with them and with Kellen Moore now is when you play a team like San Francisco where their defense can match up, what wrinkles are you providing to counter that? And we just don't see it. It's literally the same thing as we saw last year. An offense that spit and bit half the game, had a couple of good drives, but never could consistently do anything.
Yeah.
And so at what point is that on the offensive coordinator? Yeah, you have a top 5 offense. You've had a top 5 offense every year you've been offensive.
It's because they're padding the stats against bad teams.
Exactly. And so at what point do you see the wrinkles against the good teams?
Well, to your point, you said in the prior show, they did play well. They play better against better or good teams.
Yes, I think this year, again, one of the reasons why I think you keep everybody that you can. I felt there was a step from last year to this year. I do agree with that.
Honestly, I'm not happy with Kellen Moore coming back in 2023, but I'm glad with another year of Michael Gallup, because I think he'll have a better year in 2023 with injuries like what he had in the playoff game against the 49ers in 2021.
And that's a good point.
I think it takes a year, and then he'll be fully healthy and fully, practicing. It sucks that Dallas doesn't have James Washington going into 2023, but I think with Michael Gallup healthy, I think with CeeDee Lamb coming off a second-team All-Pro.
Yeah,
season.
he really showed he was a number one.
Yeah. He started slow, but he ended up becoming a number one.
Yeah,
and definitely justifying that pick again in 2020 or 2021.
Yeah, but he's going to be coming up soon on a deal.
Yeah, and he'll be worth the money. I mean, he's a very productive player.
But again,
he's not 6'3", 225 like AJ Brown is, but he's still elusive, can get open, can make the tough catch when need be.
Do you know the crazy thing is him and Michael Irvin are about the same size-wise, but they just don't look it.
Yeah.
Partly because of uniforms and how pads are now.
Well, I mean, Michael Irvin had 20 pounds of padding.
That's what I'm saying. Back then, I will always go back to, if you want to help you want to help curb concussions and stuff, put the bigger pads back on the players.
I've always felt that for the betterment of the league, for safety reasons, everybody should have uniform padding. You're required to have
thigh pads. Michael Irvin would never wear.
Yeah, thigh pads.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Quad pads, knee pads. There should be some similar padding for everybody, just to make it level and fair.
No, I totally agree.
No, but I agree. Like you see a lot of these special teams, not special teams, but skilled players, they don't have any kind of leg padding at all. No hip padding, no leg padding, no knee padding. And that's supposed to increase the speed.
Mm-hmm.
But I think football is so popular now where you should probably be more focused now on safety of the player, longevity, especially those players that are popular. You want them to play as long as possible, like Patrick Mahomes, perhaps. You want them to not have high ankle sprains in the divisional round. You want them to, be healthy, play 15, 20 years, while, you have skilled players like Zeke and CD. And
let's go ahead and talk about that. What are your thoughts on the NFL supposedly by rumors are going to look at that type of tackle and it's funny how it happened in back-to-back games, Patrick Mahomes and Pollard. Mahomes should be back supposedly this week. He is going to play, but we don't know how good he's going to play. And then Pollard was completely out. And you're going to look at Pollard's stat and go, he was 10 carries, 27 yards, and like 4 catches, 30. He wasn't doing a lot, but it felt like he was starting to – they had a good rhythm with him. They were starting to get him the ball.
You felt like he was a play away.
Yeah, it really did. And it felt like that carries over. So what are your thoughts on that the league might look at eliminating what they call the hip tackle? Basically, where you use your weight to bend the guy's legs back. Now, in Australian football and some rugby leagues, they've already outlawed it because it tears legs up. You can't make the game 100% safe, but there's a type of tackles that you can eliminate that the game won't miss, and that's one of them.
I feel it's going to be super hard to implement.
That's what we said about the horse collar, and then now nobody does that. It's very rare to get a horse collar tackle.
But that is a good point. So horse collar tackle 2004 season, it involved the Cowboys. It was Roy Williams.
Like half the penalty rules are usually Cowboys.
Yeah.
Eric Williams.
Yeah.
Roy Williams.
Whereas 2022 it went against the Cowboys.
Yeah.
2004 went for the Cowboys. Roy Williams tackled Terrell Owens. With the horse collar tackle, I think fractured an ankle or
leg. Yeah, something like that.
So Terrell Owens came back,
and Roy Williams had done a bunch of those tackles that year. That was like the culmination. That was something. And you didn't. It's not that it wasn't there before, but you just didn't really see it until him.
Yeah. So it became publicized, but thanks to Terrell Owens' physical strength and then his the money he spent on like the hyperbaric chamber and all these other things to speed up the healing process, he was able to make the Super Bowl that 2004
One of the
season.
most underrated Super Bowl performances simply because they lost.
He almost 10 catches, over 100 yards on. It's still a very tender leg.
Oh, you could tell. And you could tell.
And he was not the reason they lost. He was the reason they were competitive in that game. The Patriots in the 04 season, we had referenced that season just because of Roethlisberger.
Yeah.
That was his rookie year. And so with this, I just it seems like it's gonna be harder to implement because that seems like a natural tackle to make.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. Putting your weight on a player.
Once you get your, because like at first the tackle seems very innocuous, very safe. You're grabbing them by the hip and you're just trying to secure the tackle.
Yeah.
But the problem is at the very end of it, when you're applying your weight to the lower body of the player.
Or you're taking your legs and scissoring their legs. Scissoring.
All right. Excuse PG.
Yeah, okay. But serious doing that. But I remember what I got to talk to an NFL official once, and we were just joking about it. And he said, rules are not made for the current players. Rules are made for the players down the line.
Because now if they implement that rule, 8-9-year-old kids that are playing pee-wee
stop tackling like that.
Yeah. So 10 years we'll see the benefits of it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's frustrating, and I get people. Well, actually, I don't. I think that. Well, no, I was going to say I get people being like they don't like it, but I think people are just like, it's the same people. Well, games shouldn't be played inside because they weren't back in the day. Well, they weren't back in the day because nobody thought about, hey, let's just build a dome.
Yeah.
Nobody thought about that.
Yeah.
So the idea that they did it before, that means it's better. It's the same thing where people now do the whole like, I want to eat the caveman diet. Cavemen lived to like 30. So do you really want to live that diet? Because that's
nope.
I mean, so it's the same way.
I'll take my McDonald's. Thank you very much.
But it's the same way now. I mean, we do that with football. Like, oh, back in the day where they ran the ball 40 times. Well, yeah, because they didn't think about, hey, we could just throw. Look at the routes. You and I were just talking about this earlier today. Troy Aikman. Give Troy Aikman the routes that they run today.
Oh, man.
And he's a completely different quarterback.
Yeah.
People don't realize when people say, oh, Troy Aikman shouldn't have, and I'll even say this about Terry Bradshaw. He shouldn't be a Hall of Famer, his stats. Troy Aikman was throwing the ball down the field, every route, simple ins and outs. There wasn't like we're going to have.
And he still completed 2/3 of his passes.
Yes. Yeah. But you look at him now and you look at him in like today's stats. Yeah. He looks like he's a bad quarterback, and he's not. Again, it goes back to the game today. Even though I still feel like we're about to be in a flip era where we're starting to throw the ball down the field more. I think that's why we have more interceptions because teams now realize 10 years ago or 5 years ago, I say 10 years ago, teams played shell. Let everybody dink and dunk you down the field. Don't give up the big play.
But now you see the decline in tight ends.
Yep.
That's kind of attributed to that defense.
Yeah, now it's like, let's just not give up the big play.
And then credit to Mahomes' supremacy. He's able to learn to, hey, I'll be patient. I'll do a 15-play, 90-yard drive, take 10 minutes, and still score a touchdown.
Yep.
I have no problem doing that because I got the best tight end in football, one of the smartest tight ends in football as well. And he's in his early 30s, but he's definitely a first ballot Hall of Famer. Travis Kelce.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, he goes down. I mean, it's
him and his brother. They're both two different people, size-wise, personality-wise.
Yeah.
But they're first ballot Hall of Famers just for the way they play the game. They're so intelligent and they're so athletic, and they're both different, but they play with the same love and childlike happiness. You and I played when we were just playing. Like, I grew up in an apartment, so I have some apartment friends, people I live in, my brothers and my same age.
Yeah.
We would all play, and it would just be 3-on-3, 4-on-4, and we find open field, and it was beautiful. That's how you play.
I've always said, you and I have talked about this. If you played, whether you played at high school, college, or pro, the actual game of football is fun when you play it. But practices and all that sucked.
I hated practices.
Everybody did.
Yeah.
So for these NFL players that can find the way to still get through that, dude, all credit to him.
Oh, yeah.
I don't, outside of the money, I don't even know if I would have wanted to play pro football because man, practice sucked.
Yeah.
Practice sucked. No matter if you were a starter, a reserve, nobody thought of you. It sucked.
Well, for me, it sucked because I was always expected to do whatever the coaches said, like teacher's pet, sort of.
Yeah.
But for, football, so if I had to run a drill, 100%.
You're supposed to do it. Yeah. No.
Yeah. So
I think all.
And then it got to the point where I felt that I was not allowed to mess up as far as like not going 100%.
Yeah.
I could mess up like getting a pancake by somebody, but I couldn't mess up as far as like not giving effort.
Yeah. No, exactly. And it just, again, you look at players like Travis, which is, I was going to say, it's funny how you look at Gronk, Jason Witten, Antonio Gates, Travis Kelce, all within the last 15 years. Yet it feels like we're in an era where tight ends, unless something changes, aren't that big. That's why I'm big on, like, if you want to let Dalton Schultz go, I'm fine with that. I think Ferguson,
this is supposed to be one of the strongest. Well, we'll talk about the draft and late future episodes, but this is supposed to be one of the strongest tight end classes of all time.
Yeah. So but I even look at what they have on the roster if I'm Dallas, and I'm fine with Ferguson and Pendershot, whatever his name was. I think that they both could do. And this is nothing against Dalton Schultz, but let's go ahead and go back. We'll finish up with, I know the game was over, but the last two plays with Dalton Schultz, you want to talk about Dak, and you want to talk about Zeke, and you want to talk about effort, and can they be a Super Bowl winning quarterback? Yeah. You had a tight end who basically 2 plays in a row just gave up.
That's a tough one. Yeah. I mean, I see what you mean there with Schultz.
I mean, the first one,
I think they just kept him just because they had no other options.
Well, yeah, that's why they tagged him.
Yeah.
You tag him, you pay him this year, and let's see what happens. Yeah. And I don't think he showed you anything that makes you think he needs to be a top 5 paid tight end.
He had some pretty good games toward the end of the year. He did score the only touchdown for the Cowboys in that divisional round game against the 49ers. I feel that he has some talent. To me, he's just another Blake Jarwin. Just a skilled tight end, a little undersized, can make some plays. Got not the best blocker. The thing I liked about Jason Witten, he was such a great blocker, but I don't think we'll ever get that type of player again unless we draft for it. Like that Notre Dame player, Michael Mayer. I think that Dallas would benefit more from someone like him than what the current crop of tight ends for the Cowboys is right now.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. I just don't look.
What's this song?
Party's over.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
This really hits home now.
Call it a night.
Now, I will say this. The party's not over for OutDrank The Coverage, as we're going to be having off-season episodes almost each and every week. Next week, we're going to record our big Super Bowl show where you and I are just going to break down the game and get crazy about it. But we're also going to be doing, and this is part of the whole thing of why on the new network, you and I are going to get to finally do what we want to do, and that's why the new logo, if you see it, it says it perfectly. It's it's booze, it's sports, it's movies, it's football, it's food.
Yep.
So we're going to do all-season shows where we're talking about movies. I think the first one we're going to do is Draft Day. So we're going to start early with sports movies. We might eventually move on into something else, but we're going to start with sports movies because there's so many to do. But we do want to thank everybody that has listened to us each and every week. It's tough as a Cowboy fan, but again, and maybe I'm lucky. I'm old enough that I got to literally experience 3 and then technically 4, even though I don't remember the 78 one against the Broncos.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I'm content, but I'm also not stressing out. If the Cowboy, I don't know. Maybe it's jaded, but I've got to the point now where, and I've told you this, I just enjoy watching football. Like, I'll just watch the red zone and I'll put the Cowboys on the laptop. I'm fine with that. And it's nothing against Dallas, but it's just, I just like football enough to where whether the Cowboys win or lose, that's not going to destroy me as far as the rest of the season.
I think I'm getting to that point.
And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
You're just content.
Yeah.
Which a lot of people say that's the ideal goal to have in life overall, in general.
Yeah, that's a good point.
non-sports related, but I tend to disagree. I want to be happy.
I think part of it is just as I've gotten older, my competitiveness of.
You saw different eras. You saw the mid to late '80s Cowboys. Think from my perspective, I saw it from them in the early '90s when Dallas was just winning Super Bowls. So I expected that going forward as a kid.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And then now they haven't done anything since the '95 season. Now they're going to 2020. That's 28 years. I mean, come on. It's not fair.
No, that's a good point. When I started, like when I remember, again, I barely remember 80. I barely remember Dallas losing to Philadelphia. Yeah. I remember certain things.
Yeah.
The first one for me was 81. Mm-hmm. So all I knew was heartache.
Yeah.
And then reading in the history books of the Cowboys of the 70s.
Yeah.
So when the 90s happened, that was like, oh, wow, we can do this again.
Yeah.
But since then, I'm just like, okay, we won. I've always told you what broke me was it's not even the Cowboys.
Oh, you know what we forgot to talk about?
What?
You remember you said something about enjoy the actual sport.
Well, that's exactly what we're about to wrap up to.
Okay.
Enjoy the sport. The debate is fun,
yeah,
but just enjoy the sport.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the things. We're in this era now, and this might be the era we live in for the rest of eternity, but we're worried more about the wins. And you and I have talked about this more times than one. You and I have as much fun talking about teams that never won in any sport, whether it be like Golden State when it was Richmond and,
run
TMC or the
TMC,
Mavericks. TMC, the Mavericks before they finally won.
Yeah.
Those are still fun teams.
Oh yeah.
But we have got to a point now where you're either win or you're completely terrible.
Yeah.
And folks, don't be like that. That's just not fun. Like in TV, movies, sports, they're all just entertainment.
Yeah.
Don't take it serious. I always love it when somebody says, well, y'all got to stop talking about so-and-so. Y'all need to focus on. No, I'm a fan. I can focus whatever the hell I want. It doesn't matter to the team.
Amen to that.
The team is not going to be like, oh, crap, Terry's not focused on us. What are we going to do?
Or maybe they will.
DeMarcus Ware's calling. Listen to Terry. He knows what he's talking about. But no, folks, just enjoy this.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Agreed.
And I think that when I see people like breaking TVs and stuff, I'm like, really? Like you're one step away from like beating your wife, in my opinion. Because I mean, it's just a freaking game.
Yeah.
Even this, and we want all the sponsors we want, but it's entertainment. And I literally tell people when I'm pitching to them, this is entertainment.
Yeah.
Like we're just having fun here.
Yep.
So have fun. Enjoy whatever football you are. We're on like a third country song. I don't know what song it's about to be.
You don't even like country.
Yeah, I like old country.
Oh, okay.
Especially David Allen Cole.
To keep from crying.
That's it, turn, Noah. I'm Terry Bennett. This has been the OutDrank The Coverage.